Once I was at a cemetery burying someone who had no friends or relatives left. She had outlived them all. Her bookkeeper of many years was the only guest at the burial. I tried to ask him if he had power of attorney, but in an embarrassing slip of the tongue, I asked, "Do you have power of eternity?" He just smiled and replied, "No, Father, I think that would be you. I merely have the power of attorney." That started me thinking about the power of eternity, the power of eternal things. There are things that last, and there are other things that pass away. This time of year, we always reflect on those last things. We celebrate All Saints' Day, followed by All Souls' Day. November is traditionally the month of the Holy Souls. In the Gospels of these last Sundays of the church year, we hear about the last things. We hear the shocking news that so much of what we know and love is going to vanish. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. It can be unsettling to look around and know that all we see will crumble to dust. How much more unsettling to look in the mirror and realize that what we see there is also going to pass away. When I was a child, my grandfather was a constant presence, an institution we could not imagine life without. He had always been around, and we assumed he always would be. But Grandpa is no longer here. He wasn't afraid of death, because he always saw the world through the eyes of a child. He used to cut out cartoon figures out of wood and paint them for us, making us Mickey Mouses and Donald Ducks and so many other fantasy friends. They were our favorite things to adorn our walls with. My favorite was Peter Pan. Grandpa was able to face death without fear because he remembered the words of that beloved prophet, Peter Pan. You might remember that Peter was the little boy who loved adventure and never wanted to lose his boyhood. When he found himself on Maruna Rock and knew he was going to die, he felt only one brief shudder of fear go through him and then was no longer afraid. After that, he saw the world once again through the excited eyes of a little boy and said, "To die will be an awfully big adventure." We can look upon death with fear and trembling, or we can look at death as an awfully big adventure, the only adventure which can bring us to something higher. It is only by coming to the end of the passing things that we can move on to the things that never end. An awfully big adventure. Over the last century and more, the words of Peter Pan have inspired many children, but many adults as well. Already in 1915, when the great ship Lusitania was sinking, taking nearly 1,200 people to the bottom of the sea, on that ship was an American theater manager, Charles Frohman. He, of course, was quite familiar with the story of Peter Pan, and so when he saw the frightened passengers in the last moments of their life, he called out to them the message of the little boy. Why fear death? It is the most beautiful adventure in life. An adventure. The Christ's words are words of adventure. the reality of things passing away, but the promise of much greater things to come. Without one, we cannot have the other. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. And exactly what are those words that will never pass away? The Christ came to teach us one word, and that is love. It is love that never passes away, for love is God. God is eternal, and if we love, we also are eternal. Love is the only thing that never passes away. The question I mistakenly posed at the cemetery that day was a powerful one. Do you have power of eternity? You have power of eternity because you have the power to love.